myself out.
I am afraid of...
I'm terrified and paralyzed by...
I am deathly afraid of...
Welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast with your host, me, Ryan Perrio. Hello and welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast. I am your host, Ryan Perrio. This week, I have another episode from my live podcast from the Prekindle Brewery at the Hops and Arts Festival in Dallas, Texas, back in May. It's my second interview. It's with a extremely original and talented artist, Modesto Aceves, at Amodi Designs on Instagram. You can check out his art there. He is an amazingly talented artist. I was blown away when I looked at all his stuff because I'm already a fan of earth tones. And he had these brown and yellow watercolors. And when I asked him, what he's got going on with this art, he told me that all he paints with is coffee. Yeah, like coffee grounds. Like he makes coffee and then makes it with varying degrees of thickness into his paint. It's amazing work. I was deeply fascinated. And so I had to get him as a guest. He was my second guest after Jacqueline. We discuss his art and how he found painting with coffee, or as he calls it, caffeinated. Then we get into his fear of driving on the highways, which he's an older gentleman, so I mean that's a pretty logical fear, and I'm starting to get more of a handle on it because as a young kid you don't really get it. You're like, you got to take the highways to get where you're going fast, but with all the construction and all the change, sometimes it gets difficult. Like now in Dallas, where the Woodall Rogers exit, which used to be almost to Woodall Rogers, is now like a half a mile back from where it used to be. And so you have to get over super early, otherwise you miss it. And so we discuss his fear of driving on the highway. So let's get into that interview right now with Modesto Aceves. All right, my next guest here at the art festival is a man who creates with coffee. As everything you see to my left here in his painting, he paints with coffee and watercolor. That's an amazing, to me, that's just an amazing, I guess, repurpose of something we have every day.
Yes, yes.
So how are you doing, Modesto?
Good.
Glad to have you. I want to know about this medal you got on your vest.
Well, for 2 years I've been exhibiting also at the State Fair of Texas. And my last in 2019, they
rewarded you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations. You definitely earned it. Like your art is amazing. It's mind blowing that all of that is done with just coffee.
Yes,
and watercolor.
Coffee. Mm-hmm.
So how did you come across this? Is this something that like someone else in your family was doing before you and you kind of inherited it, or is it something you just discovered on your own to make coffee watercolor?
Well, I paint at night, so I have to drink a lot of coffee because during the daytime I'm working or with family. Mm-hmm. So one night, when you get really into your painting, you forget where you dipped your brush at.
Okay.
And I actually did my brush in my coffee, and that's how it actually happened.
That is... Talk about an amazing story of art inspiration. You just reaching back and now were you mad that you dripped it in the coffee and like you couldn't drink your coffee anymore? Is that, or did you just go, so when you did it, did you look at it and just kind of pull back and just think about how far you could take it then, and it just became a game of how much can I really use coffee?
No, I just love the tone that it came on to the canvas.
Yeah, I love it. It's very earthy and very, I would say, with your colors, you definitely sold into the coffee look.
Yeah,
you were definitely going with a mocha
Yeah.
and latte kind of color scheme here.
Why I also say Amo Latte. My nickname is Amodi, so Amodi Latte.
Okay. So how did you get the nickname Amodi?
Amodi because you know how your sounds are, like, for instance, the A sounds like my last name is Aceves, so it sounds real. How you say it? The A sounds low, like and so I put the letter A, you know, like little, and then Modi is my name, Modesto. So and everybody calls me Modi.
Okay.
So Modi.
That's awesome. Definitely a great name. So you found this by accident. So what has been, like, how long have you been doing coffee since you accidentally dipped your brush into your coffee cup and painted on your canvas? How long has that been?
2012.
2012. How much of this have you actually sold? Because, I mean, it's just amazing because I feel like you could do... I think we even talked about, like, coffee houses have like, invested in you to come decorate and paint, leave your paintings there and stuff like that.
Well, a lot of them went to, like, vintage places because of the tones and all that.
Definitely, I will definitely get some pictures of that so that for your episode when it drops, so that people can see the tones. I mean, it's just jaw dropping because I was just amazed that you could do. And you also have gotten to where you made like a thick ink.
Yes. Because when I started out, I used just the background just the background and ink, and did that work on with just ink. But then, you know, when I was doing more shows, you know, people would recognize me as the coffee artist. So the background wasn't enough for me. So I had to kind of say, well, how can I get my ink real dark? And what can I do? So I started using coffee grounds, dilute it into water and make it really, really thick. So I can use calligraphy pens. And that's why it takes me more than 2 weeks to do one painting.
That's definitely a labor of love because I can't imagine doing that in just such a slow process because you have to be so deliberate, but yet you have to know exactly what you're trying to do. You can't get too thick with it. You can't get too thin. So there had to be a lot of trial and error. And again, you stay up late with all the coffee. I mean, it's got to have been a frustrating kind of... But you've turned that into a nice art enterprise, and I am just stunned. Like when you told me that's all coffee, I'm just mind blown away that you were able to do that in just a happy accident.
Yes.
A happy, profitable accident, but a happy accident nonetheless. So your fear is very interesting, Modesto. You want to talk about driving on the freeway, which I feel is definitely it's an older person fear. I will say it, but I get where you're coming from because things now are changing at such a rapid pace. When I was a kid, even I won't date you, but even as a kid, I felt like we had just 3 highways and that's it. You had 20, 30, 183, and then they added 635 to kind of connect all of them, which was awful. But now you have 635, George Bush, Tollway. You got tech express lanes that cost you God knows how much. And everywhere we look now in Dallas, there's construction and new roads and new freeway, new exits are now, because you get used to an exit. And then all of a sudden it gets blocked, even when it's just blocked off. Like it just throws off your day. Like you've got to now recalculate all of your stuff to this new way. So when did this fear start? Has it always been like that? Have you always been kind of not a freeway driver?
Yeah, because when they changed at 35, because one time you had to get on your far right to go down 35 going south. And now, when I was going that way, it was on the left side, and that makes that exit.
Yeah, and you just have to exit and get back on. So are you, when you take that exit, do you get, when you have to take the freeway, do you get nervous?
Yes.
Do you listen, do you have phone directions, or do you just wing it?
I just get lost. I get lost. I had to use that GPS. Yes.
How do you feel about GPS at your age? Like I get frustrated with it because I feel like there's too much information coming at once, and it doesn't give you enough preface. Like sometimes it does, but when you get there, it doesn't set you up for which lane very well. Like, like it just take the next exit. It's like, okay, whoa. There's 2 exits here, and they expect you to read signs, which doesn't happen.
No, sure. And I get lost using GPS.
Yeah, my friend gets lost. That's one of my best bits. Is my best friend. She uses GPS, but she still gets lost, and I make fun of the GPS as how angry it is.
And then sometimes I use the GPS and I know the direction just to test the GPS.
You test the GPS. That is next level old man. That is the next level old man tactic. I've never heard of anybody testing their GPS to see how much it knows. Like, okay, let's see if you really know Oak Cliff. All right, let's see if you know where we're going. Like when you like, does it? Have you ever used Waze? What GPS do you use? Do you just use like whatever your phone has?
Samsung. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another app called Waze. And Waze is like, it knows everything about every road, and so it will re-navigate you through shortcuts and things like this that I think you're just not ready for. I'll be honest and say you probably would not be able to handle Waze.
No,
if regular GPS is throwing you off, Waze is not going to be your friend, because Waze will take you through parking lots. It'll cut you through a neighborhood to save you like a second. So, are you a slow driver, or are you a...
I'm a Sunday driver.
Okay. So you're the guys that we're honking at on the highway because you're going 40.
Yeah.
But I get it, too. Like, there's so much information now, and so many with the road construction and everything else. I understand being careful. Like, I got honked at on the way here because I was trying to find out... Because I've been on 75, and I got on 75 North right here underneath downtown. And it's like if you get too far left, you're going into Elm Street. If you go too far right, you're on Bryan. And I'm trying to remember, because I'm on the left-hand side of that. I'm not normally coming from 30, and I'm freaking out like this is not right. And so I pause, and people are just screaming and honking. So how do you handle people honking at you and stuff like that? Does it affect you? Do you get nervous? Do you try to speed up? Do you flip them off? What do we do?
I just put a sign that says "Grandpa driving."
Okay. They probably see that too. Like I feel like some people see your age and then lighten their insult. Like your mother. Oh, never mind. He's old. Sorry. Like I feel like they get guilty because I've been that person when I'm driving. Like you ever have road rage guilt? Like you get angry at somebody, then you see it's like a little old lady. And you become like a coach. Like you shouldn't be driving, and that's your only insult you should have. Like get an Uber. How do you feel about Uber?
Uber? I never been in one.
Okay. Have you thought about doing Uber?
Yes, because now because of my age, it's hard for me to drive at night because of my vision.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard for people to drive at night. Period, because most of us are alcohol drunk and. It's already blurry.
Yeah.
We all have night blindness at some level, depending on how much intake you have. Not condoning that here at Prekindle Brewery, but it's happened. I will acknowledge it's happened. We got more customers coming in. So, Modesto, how much longer do you think you can actually drive? Have you put a time frame on driving? Like, have you already put the kibosh on night driving? Like, if it's dusk, you're like out of if we left here and it was getting like dusk, would you be like, I gotta close early and beat this nighttime?
Well, I'll put the high beam on.
Okay. You're that person. You're the person that I feel like it's the worst because I'll be driving at night and I'm like, do these people not know how headlights work? Like you don't need to have the bright lights on, but maybe you do. Like I have never thought about like with your vision and stuff at night if high beams are actually helpful. They're not helpful for me, but I get that.
Yeah.
So where can people find you on social media? Do you have social media?
Just on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Or they could Google my name.
Okay. Definitely the emoji or just the Modesto Aceves.
Modesto Aceves.
All right.
Modesto Aceves. And I always tell people coffee goes with my name because Modesto means not too good, not too bad. So you can have either hot, cold, or Modesto.
Okay. Well, guys, give it up for Modesto, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get him that ride or die jacket since that's what he's kind of doing at this point on the roads. So that was Modesto. What an amazing story of finding art in the most unlikely of places, to accidentally dip your brush into your coffee and then with the artist's eye, able to see the potential and then to work with it. Some people would have just saw the mistake and started over with their original painting, but not Modesto. He went forward and now has his own original art that is exclusively his, and no one can take it away from him. Check him out on Instagram at Amode Designs, AMODEDESIGNS. Trying to learn how to spell designs. He's got amazing art. He's also on Facebook. The links will be in the show notes. They just had another art show in Grapevine, Texas here last weekend. So hopefully you made it out to that and you saw it. Or if not, I'll always post when he's going to have they're going to have an art show. I may be at one of them. Like, we may have more live podcasts here in the future. It was a great time. I kind of cut this interview short because as a live thing, it's hard to come up with questions on the fly, I learned. And so I ended this interview a little early. It still was a great conversation. Solid fear of driving on the highway and how he was a Sunday driver. So he's probably one of the people we honk at. No harm, no foul. Check out his stuff on Instagram, Facebook. As for me, this weekend I'll be featuring in Hyenas Fort Worth with Matt Sadler, and episode 31 guest Zach Arredondo will be my MC. Should be a fun weekend. I'll have t-shirts. I'll be out there doing my comedy thing. Then July 1st, I'll be headlining Hyenas Fort Worth. So come out to that. It's a free show. It's going to be an amazing time. I'm going to be that much wiser about headlining. So I'm excited. Hopefully I'm going to work with Hyenas to maybe record an album at some point this year. I really would love to do that. Then that next week after my headlining set, I'll be in Little Rock, Arkansas, featuring for Andy Woodhull as we begin some summer dates at the comedy clubs around, not just in DFW, but also out of town. I can't wait. I'm super excited. As for the podcast, I'm probably going to do another live episode next week. And then I will release Amber Ray Washington's 2.5-hour conversation I had with Amber Ray Rose Washington, who is an amazing story. I'm going to start editing that this week along with this week's live episode. So to round out Pride Month, we'll do Amber Rose Washington at the end of the month. It's going to be an amazing conversation. And I definitely want it to be in its entirety. I don't want to edit it and split it across 2 weeks. I want you guys to really sink into it. It's a really fantastic interview. Next week, one more live one. Then we'll do Amber Rose, and then we'll do another one in early July. We'll probably do another live episode. But thanks for listening. Leave a review. I need more reviews as much as possible. So if you haven't left a review and you listen to the show, please take some time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen, and leave a good review if you like what you hear. If you don't like what you hear, email me. Tell me what I can do better. I'm trying to slowly grow this podcast and just enjoy the process. So thank you for listening to the Sum of All Fears. Have a wonderful week. And now some thank yous for the folks that make this show possible. Thanks to Barry Whitewater for my art and graphics. You can follow him on Instagram at bwhiteh2o. Get it? H2O like water. You can also follow him on Facebook Music. A huge thank you to Gunnar Olsen for the wonderful music provided for this podcast. You can follow him on Instagram at gunbuns, that's GUNBUNS, as well as his website, GunnarOlsen.net. Check out some of the samples that he has recorded. They're amazing. He's an amazing percussionist. If you want to follow the show, we've got a Facebook group, Sum of All Fears. Instagram, Twitter, you can find us at Some Fear Fans. If you have some feedback for the show, email me at somefearfans, SOMEFEARFANS @gmail.com. I'll be happy to take those into consideration. Also, if you'd like to be a guest, email me at somefearfans @gmail.com. We can try to iron out some details and get that settled in. Give us some feedback if on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a review. It makes the show bigger, and it's not going anywhere. I'm going to record as many shows as I possibly can. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at Ryan Perrio. It's RyanPerrio on all social media platforms. You can follow me there, and you can check me out at ryanperrio.com, my website. I'll try to list upcoming shows there as well. It's been kind of spotty because as soon as I set it up, that's when the pandemic happened. And everything's kind of just in a holding pattern. Thanks again for listening to the Sum of All Fears podcast. Next week, we'll have another guest with another fear. Thanks for listening.